Hello all, welcome to another endgame study of the Solving Hard Studies to Improve Chess Calculation series. This composition was made by David Gurgenidze and Velimir Kalandadze. It's white to play and to win. As always, I suggest you watch the guide so you are better prepared for the practice. The main countdown of 10 minutes will start, and in the end, I will catch you up to begin the guided solution. And here we are. Let me show you immediately the first good move, which is to go with the rook to the other side. Rook a2, exclamation mark. Now we are threatening to promote our pawn to a queen. So this is the only path to go for a win. Okay, so what is going on the position? Of course, fast we can see that Black has two connected passed pawns that are threatening to promote to a queen, almost impossible to stop. And our only compensation is to have the a6 pawn to advance it and also promote to a queen, possible with check if we are fast enough. And of course, this is our the main themes of the position. If we go with the pawn directly, of course, this doesn't work. The king just enters the square. Now, even if I try to threat again the promotion, well, the king just goes in front, and next moves the pawns will start to advance, and I will be forced to sacrifice. And only with luck I will escape with a draw, not a win in the foreseen future for sure. So other possibilities, grabbing the knight doesn't work. Black just advances the pawn, and of course over here we are lucky to get a draw because we have this fork of the rook and the queen, so we are saving the game with a draw. Notice that now it's a draw. The king will grab our pawn, but our knight is too far away to protect it, so not a chance to get more than a draw. And if we get the king to the side, well, now we are just going to a loss if black plays the c2 pawn. If it goes with d2 pawn, okay, we get a draw again because we can sacrifice the rook and then use the king to control the promotion of the pawn. And so here black will go after our a6 pawn. Now we bring our knight, and we are going to maneuver until we grab black's pawn on d2. And of course, this is just a draw. But if black is paying attention, it goes with the pawn to c2 because from here, of course, the king can come to take d3, and we think, okay, we have the same resource of going with the fork with the rook. So let me show you here. The rook goes and fork the king, and we think, okay, now we get a draw. But of course, black has another idea, and so we are checking the king. The king moves to the side, and then, of course, we are just losing over here. From here, it's a loss. So at first move, I think we are more or less able to find it. It's to go with the rook a2. Of course, now it's time for black to advance the pawn. Advancing the c2 pawn doesn't work because we simply advance our pawn. And even if black is the first one to get a queen over the board, we are going to get a queen with check, so we shift the initiative for us. And because we have a queen and a rook, it's just a matter of maneuvering. Notice that the king needs to get away from the c2, the c file, otherwise white starts becoming very active very fast, but it won't avoid. After a while, white is just going to get the pieces very active and go for a win for sure. So going with the c2 pawn, it's not hard for us, so black goes with the d2 pawn. Of course, here we need to approach our king to control the promotion directly of the pawn, so king e2 is obvious. Now it's black to play, so it's going to check our king, forcing the king to go again to d1, and now the knight's idea is to maneuver to go to e3, so going also through f5, it's the same idea. So black intentions is to go knight e3 next, checking our king. So this is the first pause, so it's white to play. What is correct move to go on? Another minute, pause if you need for more, and then I catch you up to continue. And over here, we can't advance the pawn, because if we advance the pawn, well, this just allows black to go directly with the knight e3 that we were expecting. The king is out of the way, but now, of course, black promotes to the queen, and with a queen over the board, we are just hoping not to lose again. So, and in fact, this is just not lost, because the king can force more or less repetition from black, so we get a draw from here. So this doesn't work, advancing the pawn. Other ideas of getting outside with our king, let's say king e2, well, this just repeats. Black is just going to repeat the position. So no progression over here. So we need to find knight f2 as the good continuation for white. Of course, now black plays knight e3. This is obvious. We are forced to go with the king outside to e2. And now black plays an interesting combination, just promotes the queen, forcing our knight to take the queen, but instead of taking the knight back, it plays c2 double exclamation mark, which forces, of course, us to grab the knight, allowing the queen to promote. There is no other chance. And of course, over here, black can't promote to a queen, because this just allows us to fork again the check and the queen. And now from here, we are going to win, because we are able to go and protect our pawn in time. Then we use our king to grab the other pawn. And so we can go for a win from here. But unexpectedly, another brilliant idea from black, it promotes not to a queen, but to a knight. So it's again white to play. Another moment for you, another minute. Pause if you need more, and then I catch you up to go on. And of course, we need to move our king. But moving to the right side is the key on this position. And the only good one for the king is to go d1 exclamation mark. Okay, why? Because we need to count move. So we are, of course, facing the knight taking the rook. And after that, the pawn will start to advance, the b pawn from black, and so we need to count move. So let's go on. I'm not going to show you everything. Let's go first by the correct move. Now the knight takes the rook, and so it's us to play again. So another minute for you. Pause if you need more. What is the correct continuation for white from here? And yes, the correct continuation is, of course, to go with this brilliant idea, knight d5, because this is the only way to stop the king to go around and control our pawn. So from here, if, as you notice, the king can't go to the dark squares inside the square of the pawn, our square of the pawn. Let's see it over here. So a bit confusing with the arrow, so let me just mark the squares. And of course, the pawn is controlling the other, so the king has a wall where he can't approach the pawn. Of course, we also can't advance it because otherwise the king can go to b7 and control it. So this idea is key. And now we are going to face another move from black. Of course, it's going to play b5. And final moment for you, final minute. I hope you are already understanding the idea from here. And I catch you up after this final countdown. And yes, we need to count moves because this is going to be really interesting. We need to go with the king d2. Notice that if we go, for example, with the king c2, which looks more natural because we are approaching the knight, well, black just advanced the pawn. Now we attack the knight, but black plays the correct move b3, so protecting the knight. If I take the pawn, sorry, the knight gets away, and of course now we can't move our pieces because how can we progress? As soon as the knight moves away, the king approaches and grabs the pawn or go in front, no matter. Uh, and black keeps the knight over the board, so this is just a draw. So why we need to count moves? Remember on this position that we had the fork from the knight and we needed to think about the correct move. The same goes over here. The rook just take the knight, and now even if we find this idea, well, it's the simple thing. Now the pawn just advance, and now let's say we go for the king, we are just going to get the same position. This is exactly the same position. So even from here, from this position that we already thought before, we need to count moves, and it's not easy. So over here the king went to d1, we found this brilliant idea, the pawn advanced, and we need to kind of lose one tempo going with the king d2, because now of course the king can't move. Whatever move, if he takes the knight, well, we just get away with our pawn to a queen. The knight also can't move because wherever he moves he is lost. So the only option from black was to advance the pawn. So we are now going to chase the knight again. But the difference is now we have the extra tempo that we need to go and shift the position, same position, but with white to play. So this is a mutual zugzwang. Who is to play is going to lose, and it's black to play. From here, it's over. Because let's say if the king takes the knight, well, we just go away with the pawn and promote to a queen, of course. If the knight gets away, well, thank you very much. We are grabbing the knight, still protecting the pawn. So next, we take the black pawn, and then we just help the king to promote to the last pawn and win with a queen. And so it's over. It's over. Whatever. If the knight tries to sacrifice, it's the same thing. Yeah, everything that black can do is just wait for a defeat over here. Okay, not an easy one. This from the beginning was not easy to see all those moves, and those positions where we need to count also very interesting. Let me show it here if I find it. Okay, and this position also very interesting for you to study because demands a lot of calculation over here. Hope you have enjoyed. As always, I want to catch you up with future videos. Bye bye and keep checking.